Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Arc Raiders. Today we're talking a lot of mistakes that I've been making with the new patch of 1.3, which has changed actually quite a few things in regards to explosions. Like blaze grenades are a lot weaker. We all know about the Hullcracker, but obviously we want to get into ways around that. But also, there's a big topic of movement coming into the scene now. With great players like Aimkey and Intent talking about movement since the game launched. And I've referenced it in some of my first videos talking about the game. But it's becoming more popularized as people are getting more comfortable. So there's some stuff that I want to talk about, highlight, but also clarify because there's misinformation going on. Let's dive in with the first topic, blaze grenades. Blaze grenades are probably the grenade that felt the 1.3 explosive nerf the most. And while it will still be an incredibly useful area denial tool and ambusher, burning raiders, dealing great shield and health damage at the same time, it's still super good for that purpose. Nothing's really changed there. What's actually changed is for arc killing. If you weren't aware, you could kill a leaper in 1 to 2 blaze grenades with proper placement by throwing at their core, having the fire spread under them and across all 4 limbs and the core. Now, there was something to do with each instance and fire tick as it spread, each one dealing multiple ticks of damage to multiple parts of the leaper. Then you've got all of them spreading across its body and under it, kind of overlapping DPS in a way that apparently it shouldn't have. Which is a shame because it is cool to have something specifically good for leapers, like blaze grenades, but it doesn't mean they're useless. As you can see, it now takes somewhere between 3 and 4, depending on your proper placement and a bit of luck, to take them down. So there's still going to be a great, very quiet way to deal with leapers, but it's definitely an important thing to be aware of. Then we got to talk about the Hullcracker nerf. Still getting effective use of the Hullcracker is very important in regards to this nerf. They called out the Hullcracker in the explosive section not once, twice, or 3 times, but 4 times, specifically stating, we're going to make it less reliable. The explosions are going to be smaller, so they're going to affect the core of the target less. And I think that's the crux of the damage that it was getting. Most arcs can be killed hilariously quick if you can get at the core. Do you remember the Queen thing with blaze trap grenades that would go through all the armor and just get straight to the core, killing it super quick? Well, I think the Hullcracker was experiencing something similar, where the explosion radius was hitting the inside of the target. Best example of this is the bastion. Before, if you were shooting the bastion in the head, let's say it took you about 14-15 shots to destroy it by just smacking it head on, even where it's most armored. Well, these days, it's taking double that. Another example would be just smacking the Queen in the faceplate. If you were going to solo that from the window on damp battlegrounds, you want to bring about 200 shots. Well, now, it seems like you need about 350 to 400. So almost doubling the amount that you're going to need. Why is that then? It's pretty much the smaller explosion radius, but it doesn't change the fact that the Hullcracker with the launcher ammo is hitting hard. If you're hitting their weak point, you're going to get the full value of the damage. So the goal is to pinpoint shots into the weakest spots to actually continue to get great use out of the Hullcracker. Easiest example of that is the matriarch with her core. When she does the shield phase, she sort of lowers her jaw plating, revealing the core inside. And since you can walk into that shield without any issue, playing around cover to be there when it happens in fact, then you can be smacking the core quite a lot. So the value of the Hullcracker isn't completely wasted. You still have ways to apply the full damage. If you focus fire into a rocketeer at the front 2 turbines, it's the easiest way to take it down, even with an anvil or ferro. So instead of firing at the center and just killing it over time, since that's going to take like double the shots now, you want to focus fire into the turbines with the Hullcracker, breaking them so it falls to the ground in actually not that many shots. Or something like, your bastion bombardiers. I strongly recommend you bring showstoppers into your Hullcracker big arc farming runs now if you want to greatly speed up the time you kill these things. The weakness of a bastion bombardier is the core inside, and it's easily exposed by breaking the battery on the back. That's what it's all about. You essentially expose the insides and then smash the insides from that angle. But if you're soloing it, that's really difficult. You can still use the Hullcracker effectively to break legs and then get around to that back battery, but it's often not long enough, which is where a showstopper comes in. Initiating with a shot to the back, then a showstopper, then finish the battery, come back and shoot the back. That's kind of what I'm going for now with the pinpoint accuracy of the Hullcracker. So it still works, you just have to use your brain. Though, don't get me wrong, they've gone way too far on this. It feels a little too weak for each shot, and way too expensive and less accessible than it was before. Even if it was too easy, too good, and too accessible before, this has been too much of a change, in my opinion. A simple alternative then is grenades. It was like the opening 3 days of the game when I've made my "here's how you kill all the big arc with grenades" video, before the Hullcracker became a common sort of feature. And that kind of sticks. Since, your trigger grenades, your heavy grenades, they aren't really feeling the effects because their AoE is still big enough, you can destroy bastions and whatever it is really quick and cost effective compared to the Hullcracker actually. Think about it. 6 trigger grenades and maybe a couple shots will kill a bastion. You could do heavy grenades instead in that place if they're well placed. You could do 3 trigger or heavies and then say 6 snap blasts, and that'll get you there too. That's some crude explosives and processors for the amazing trigger grenades, or explosive compound and canisters for your heavy fuses, and then the classic and cheap snap blasts are magnets and crude explosives, which again we can trade with Celeste for a lot of this stuff, if not refine it. So I think that's a lot cheaper and more accessible than the Hullcracker is right now. So don't forget, it's always an option. Right, let's now get into the many movement techniques that I want to talk about today. Got a lot that I'm excited to discuss. Firstly, I want to talk about this concept we've mentioned before, where you can sprint, you can slide, and then you can sprint, and then you can slide, and then you can sprint, and then you can slide. And basically what we're doing, as you can see, there's no stamina bar popping up, is being really efficient with your movement across the map. But I actually want to discourage you from doing this blindly without thought. Do you not realize how loud sliding actually is? It might not feel it, but it's actually the loudest thing you can do in terms of movement, which is a crazy thing. You will be sprinting and making less of a sound than the sound that you make with sliding. And very interestingly, when you slide, players will hear you from further away. So say you're sprinting, you'll be heard from about 50 meters away. When you're sliding, you'll be heard from 60 meters away. And again, clear difference between the audio. When you start to hear someone sprinting at 50 meters away, you'll barely hear them. In fact, they could get to like 30 meters before you really take in what you're hearing. There's so much sound going on in Arc Raiders, it will cover their footsteps. But because the volume of sliding is so much higher, you'll hear them at 60 meters a lot quicker, certainly when they're upon you. So if you're trying to sneak away from someone or onto someone or whatever it is you're doing, think about how loud the slide is and just weigh that in. I want to credit the original source of that information, a great Tarkov creator, Gigabeef, a fellow Brit that I've been watching for years now, and he's been covering Arc Raiders a bit too. He made a varied audio test for different types of sounds, distances, and that in a dedicated video, where he found sliding could be heard from 60 meters away, alongside other specific finds that are really worth having a look at. So go check out the video and check out Gigabeef in general. But now we're going to talk about loads of things you can do while you're sliding and why you would want to do that, because there's so many reasons. Firstly, did you realize you can sprint, slide, and turn around and maintain the direction that you're going? Why would you do this? Well, while you're running away, why not return fire on someone, right? Pretty nice concept. Pops and burners. They chase you, they get close, they set fire to you, or they explode. Sure, you can sprint and try to roll dive the pop explosion at the right time. It's something, right? But again, since you can sprint, slide, and shoot behind you, this is an incredibly effective and safe way to deal with a pop that surprises you, to destroy a burner as it opens up, and you're already away from it. You can even stand there and let a burner come up to you, shoot it, and roll back. But the sprint slide, I feel, is like the best thing you could possibly do, and it feels awesome. Plus, you get lots of practice with the sprint slide turnaround for PvP, well worth investing in. Here's a fun fact. You know how you have to wait for a reload and all that? You can cancel it a little bit early and that finishes the reload. See, I'm fully loaded at 25. But another cool detail with this is that you can obviously do other things while you're reloading. So if I'm firing and I'm reloading and then we're running, so I'm reloading, I'm running, I'm looking at this, I'm sorting my inventory, the reload's still going at the same time. So with this simple trick, you can be doing several things at once, especially when repositioning. You're reloading, you're checking your inventory, you're moving at the same time. I'm sprinting, by the way. I might prep some utility by swapping something around. There's lots of really cool things you can do, but here's another thing you can do while sliding. I'm going to take some damage just to show you. Basically, what you can do while you're sliding is pop a heal. So you have the thing in your hands, you're sprinting, you're sliding, and then you pop it while you're going. Full speed slide, by the way, and I finished the heal at the same time. If you need to heal, you might as well be moving as fast as possible while you're doing it if the context calls for it. Like you're running away from a team, you need to heal, they're about to be on you, but you want to make more space, you can do them at the same time. This works with shield recharges as well. Obviously, the longer heals of like a Vita spray or shot, the surge recharger, it still works there, but you will be held in place for like the second half. But it's a little thing that I've been working into my gameplay. Next up, I want to talk about the stamina bar and some misunderstandings about it. Right now, it might appear like I'm running and not consuming stamina, but the reality is I'm losing stamina while I'm sprinting. Of course I am. And you can see the bar now pop up. But look at the bar as it restores. It's going to reach that full bar and then extend on either side, revealing the full size of the stamina bar for a second. I don't know why they've chosen to do this. I'd rather see the stamina bar that's the real 100% on my screen at all times. But what this means is that while you're sprinting, you're consuming stamina, even if the UI isn't currently showing your stamina bar. So another top tier item that we're all using is the adrenaline shot. We have 10 seconds of stamina regen, 5 per second, whatever that means. And so for those 10 seconds, you're getting increased stamina regen. The reason that it feels like this is giving you infinite stamina in general is because it's going to take you from whatever stamina you had and put it to full, and then you're going to be able to run straight up for 10 seconds before remotely losing stamina. That is because while you're sprinting and getting the stamina recovery, you're outdoing the stamina loss. But if I start to roll, suddenly these massive chunks of stamina loss actually hit me. And the misunderstanding here is that you can't use the stim and roll. You can, but the consumption of the stamina is just so high. You see, look, that stamina is recovering and kind of staying at the same point while I'm sprinting because the stim is going. So you absolutely can pop adrenaline shots and then start rolling. It won't stop the adrenaline shot effect like I've heard suggested. Here's a fun fact with snap hook movement. You can snap hook anywhere for a burst of movement. I talked about it in the past where you can hit an object and then press left or right or A or D to go around it, or you can hold spacebar or jump or whatever your keybind is to go up and over it. But this works on flat ground anywhere. Aim it at the ground as far forward as you can, then hold spacebar and you'll go up and over it. Like I say, going over terrain is cool for that purpose, but it's good to know that this will work in the middle of nowhere, when you've got no terrain to work with, like a rock you want to go around and above, there's nothing, you can still hit the floor and do this kind of huge leap forward. And if you've not used the snap hook recently, you can do it twice back to back for a massive distance in no time with no stamina cost. This has saved me literally multiple times in the last days after bumping into other players who have an advantage against me. Here I bump into a 3-man who completely lose me after I leave the situation using 2 ground snap hooks. Pretty cool. Right, here's a big one. The animation of changing from one gun to another is so abysmally long in the middle of a fight. If you're caught out, this will get you killed. So if you need to swap gun, you might as well use this trick. Where this will be most relevant is firing one strong shot and swapping to a relevant close range weapon to finish. The thing that I see so commonly done is being surprised, firing, rolling, panicking, swapping gun, and I'm basically dead by this point. The order you do this matters. So let's say I get surprised. I shoot them, I swap gun, roll, and the gun's in my hand ready to go. The moment I finish that roll, I've already got the other gun in my hand. Here's a real world example of that happening to me, where I swap, winning the fight because of it. All that's really happening is that long animation is happening while you're rolling. You make sure you swap the gun before the roll. Fire, swap gun, roll, and it's done and it's finished, we're ready to go. Feels like a really simple, obvious thing, but it's something that catches myself out at the wrong time, and so I'm really focused on trying to fix that. Lastly, for movement, let's talk about rolls, slide peaks, and hipfire. Hipfire can work incredibly well on corner peaks. If you hold ADS and swing slowly, you're actually quite exposed and vulnerable. You'll peek, get your shot off, but then they'll hit you, which is not what we want. If instead of ADSing, you go for a quick hip fire, you can see how even against a shotgun at point blank, I'm able to get these shots off and go into cover before he can hit me. Despite the fact that I'm at extreme disadvantage here, very low health, I win the fight. Next, the slide peeking. Super simple concept. You just slide instead of doing this awkward, weird thing everyone does where they slowly ADS and you end up trading like I was just saying. Slide peeking, super fun, super easy. You just start the sprint and then you can slide, no problem. Something that I mentioned in maybe one of my first episodes of this is the idea of minimizing trading as much as possible. So I'm swinging on someone, I'm shooting, and I'm rolling back into cover to reload or whatever it is. Like I said, other players like Aim Key, Intent have been talking about this kind of thing with the release of Arc Raiders, but it's becoming more popular now as people are working on their core gameplay, which is cool to see. Just remember that you can slide peek instead of slowly stand up peek, and as soon as you want to roll back into cover, it's super easy to do. Something super obvious is just rolling between shots. If your weapon has any kind of delay between shots. Most obvious example of that will be the Toro, the shotgun that has to pump between shots. But it works for the anvil too. Check out Josh using it here to give this guy a nightmare. We're not even talking about something complicated or that flashy. It works even with an anvil that's not level 4 because the pauses between shots exist. If your gun has any pause between its shots, fire roll, and it might save your life. Last tip is, if you want to practice any of this stuff, I really recommend the fun chaos that is free kit solos on Stella Montis. If you spawn near the medical research area or the lobby, you just get crazy never-ending PvP with other free kits. I think it's a fantastic environment to mess around with a lot of the stuff we've been talking about today, and it's where I'm just sort of practicing stuff with no downside, like I'm losing nothing. But as a little tip, if you are going to do free kit PvP, remember that rattlers, ferros, maybe even something like a sticher or kettle, will leave you without more bullets to fire at the wrong time. And don't forget, you got a melee weapon. You can even do the weapon swap trick with that. Hitting someone in the head with a ferro puts them very low, then you just swap to the melee and put them down. It's actually really fun. Check out this guy's response. But yeah, there you have it. That's my latest things of mistakes and tips that I wanted to talk about. I hope this was useful to you guys, and if it was, do drop a like. If you guys have any more information or advice around the topics we talked about today, let us know in the comments. And if you have a suggestion for the series in general, I'd love to hear about that too. But until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.